I've seen a lot of different takes on making a quick disconnect for your sway bar disconnect linkage on a JK. I know it's better articulation off-road, however, I did not know that this could turn into this. Completely bent, broken, everything. So apparently it's a good idea just to disconnect them anyways. So I've seen things with clevis bolts. A few other things. My take is let's use the original fastener and we'll test it out and see how it does. Alright, I'm taking the original hardware out of the bottom of the linkage. It's swung down right now. There's where it connects up high. And I'm going to make note of where the corrosion ends. This has been exposed to the elements, this is not, so that gives us a good spacing distance right there. Bolt level and upright. I'm going to put the bolt in a vise and ratchet it down right to that corrosion line I was talking about earlier. And with the corrosion out of sight, I'm going to do one or two more turns to take up that distance of the flange where I'm going to put my hole. And I've got my bolt in the vise nice and level, and I know where I want my hole when I drill in the center of this flat surface of the nut. I'm going to take a small diameter drill bit, put a little household oil on it to cool it down so it doesn't burn it up and dull it. Then, it's going to stay as level as possible and drill a hole right through the middle of this. Forgive me, let me explain a little bit more. I'm not good at giving instructions. I'm just doing this because I thought I'd share it with other people who are trying to use the clevis bolt. I'm using a smaller diameter drill bit. It doesn't matter really what size it is, as long as it's smaller than the final hole you're trying to achieve. And I use the nut because it's almost impossible to stay on center with these threads as opposed to the flat surface of the nut here. So there you go. I apologize. I'm going to continue drilling this hole. I want to also apologize for not bringing my actual camera. I did not think to videotape this today. My dad thought it'd be a good idea to share my experience with everybody else who might be wondering how to do this. So this is being shot with my Samsung Galaxy. To re-lubricate your drill bit as it smokes it up and burns it out, probably about every 1/8 of an inch. Alright, now that I'm through, I'm going to take my pin here, which is a 3/16 pin, flip over, I don't know what you'd call it, you should probably know more about that. I'm going to take a number 10 drill bit, because a number 10 is slightly larger than a 3/16. So I don't want this to be an interference fit, I want it to go in and out of the hole relatively easy, but not too sloppy. So 10 is slightly larger than a 3/16, and using a 3/16, I believe I maintain enough edge distance here to maintain the bolt's shear strength. So, now that you got this pilot hole here, we're going to take a 3/16 drill bit and follow straight through it, and it'll be a lot easier. You're going to lubricate your drill bit because drilling on that steel will smoke up the bit, make it dull. And follow through your pilot hole with your number 10. Try to maintain a slow, lower RPM to keep it cool. And that way your drill bit will do the entire job. Alright. Now we got a 3/16 hole through. Go ahead and back your nut off. Damn. And you should have a nice pretty hole right down the middle of it. That's my new sway bar linkage because I damaged my old one. Yours won't be the case. Yours should still be connected up top, but you know, I broke mine, so I'm going to attach my new one. I'm over here on the left side. I've got my new linkage attached up top. Now what I've done is I've taken the hardware that the hole's been drilled through, and I've put in a relatively weak lock washer on there what that's going to do is, once I've got it through there, this should barely be sticking out. I'll be able to use the pin to poke into the hole, kind of pry on it, flip around, it should retain. I'm no engineer, but I do believe this is going to rely on shear strength, so this up and down motion, and not a tensile strength, which would be trying to come out. So I don't believe this pin should be a problem, as this should not have any side-to-side movement on the fixed axle here where it attaches. So I'm going to try to do this with one hand. Again, I apologize for not having my better recording equipment. This was an afterthought. Just trying to help you guys out. Okay, now that lock washer being there, it's going to be able to give me a little bit of squeeze here. And there's my hole right there. I'm going to go ahead and take a thin, flat washer, stick it over the top there, take my new pin. I don't even know what this pin's called, but there's a picture of it. It's not a Clevis pin, I don't know what it is. Alright, so I'm going to stick that through the hole. That lock washer is going to fight you a little bit. If you can get the start of that pin in there, you'll be able to pry on it and close that washer. Again, I apologize for the shakiness. And voila, I'm in. Go ahead and snap that over, and there you go. Next time I go off-roading, that'll be very easy to remove. It's in there nice and snug. No wiggle to note at all. It's nice and solid. So, next time I go off-roading, I'm just going to pull this pin out. Yank the bolt out, and boom, sway bar disconnected. Now, what you do with it after that, as far as keeping it out of the way, well, I'll get to that next. We don't live in a perfect world. This would be the passenger side. I got my steering dampener linkage right here. That is kind of blocking this from closing. That's an issue. The more I study it, if the bolt was coming through the other way, we'd be good to go. But catch-22 on that is the bolt is too long to clear it. So what I'm going to do is shave down quite a bit off the top of that bolt, and if it doesn't work, I will use a Clevis type pin, and if I destroy my bolt beyond use, well, I'll go to the store and buy another one. I shaved down the shank of the bolt to where I could maintain a pretty decent edge distance for our pin, and by God, it barely fits. But nonetheless, it fits. Alright, I'm back with my real camcorder. I did some pretty rough off-roading today, and I did put about 100 miles of city driving since I've done the change. The only thing I've noticed when I walked up on it here is the pin flipped upside down, but it's okay, it's retaining, but it would have wanted to fall down out of there if I didn't have the retention on it. So I'm going to spin that back up, and the pin seems to be in good shape. It's not bent. I was kind of worried it'd be bent in half. I think that's the only thing that could possibly go wrong here. I don't believe that this is going to shear at all as it takes impacts. Like I said, pretty rough off-roading, 100 miles on the street. I'd probably inspect this every time I filled up with gas, but still came out easy, still goes in easy, doesn't appear to be damaged. Let's go ahead and check the other side. Same deal. Looks like it's in decent shape. Go ahead and pull that up, take a look at it, rotate it down. Does not appear to be bent. Again, inspect them every time you change your gas. I don't think you'd ever have a problem with this coming out, but like I said, the passenger side was facing down. If that retention ring were to have flipped off, it could have come out, I suppose. Also, what I've done in the short term to keep the sway bar out of the way is I've hung a piece of wire just up here underneath the turn signal. This is not a permanent solution, but for right now, it'll work. So when I bring my sway bar up, all I have to do is draw the wire in through both sides. Give it a few twists, tuck it out of the way, and that isn't going anywhere. What I'd like to do is at some point put a bolt, drill a hole right here, put a bolt through. That way I can just hang the linkage on there, thread a nut on, should be good to go. But for right now, I believe that'll work. Well, that's it for my sway bar quick disconnect. I hope it helps you out. If it doesn't, sorry. If you've got improvements to what I'm doing, go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Thank you.